On Xi Jinping's birthday, he received an Omega watch he'd been longing for, worth over 30,000 yuan. He sat on the sofa, admiring it fondly from every angle, without any explanation or concern. Meanwhile, I received a WeChat message from Zhou Jiawen, a picture of a shopping receipt and a single sentence: "Su Li, the love you schemed for is over." When I was in college, I was not well liked because I had forcefully taken Xi Jinping away from Zhou Jiawen. At that time, Zhou Jiawen had been pursuing Xi Jinping for 6 months. Sensing that Xi Jinping was wavering, she planned a grand gesture for Christmas, renting an entire movie theater and inviting their mutual friends, intending to make a high-profile confession after the romance movie ended. Few could resist such an intense pursuit by a rich young lady. It was almost a done deal. When I heard about it, I rushed to the cinema, with only 15 minutes left until the movie ended. I sent Xi Jinping a WeChat message, saying I had something urgent to discuss, then waited by the theater door. 2 minutes later, Xi Jinping came out, waving his phone. "What's up?" I took a key from my bag and handed it to him. "This is for an apartment near the school, reasonably priced and with good security. It's a safer place for your mom." Xi Jinping was stunned. I then handed him a business card. "This is a specialist my dad found. You can take your mom to see him sometime. I'm going on a family trip tomorrow, so I brought these over in advance." After saying this, I forced a smile and waved at him. "Go back and watch the movie. Don't miss the ending." Xi Jinping called after me, his eyes filled with complex emotions. "Why are you helping me?" Avoiding his gaze, I whispered, "Because we're friends." "Is that all I am to you?" I lowered my eyes. "What if it isn't? It's too late now." Of course, Xi Jinping had sensed Zhou Jiawen's plans. After I said goodbye to him, I turned and walked out. Just as I was about to reach the cinema's entrance, I heard hurried footsteps behind me. Xi Jinping grabbed my arm and saw my tear-filled eyes. Choking back sobs, I said, I should have confessed to you earlier, but I knew you were overwhelmed with your mom's situation. I wanted to wait until things settled before telling you." Xi Jinping, feeling a deep compassion, pulled me into his arms and murmured, "Su Li, it's not too late at all. I like you too." My tears soaked his shoulder, clearing my vision enough to see Zhou Jiawen emerging from the theater, staring at us in shock. Dozens of classmates and friends followed, silently watching us, then started to murmur angrily. Someone couldn't hold back and shouted, "Damn, she came here just to ruin things. What a schemer." My body trembled, and tears flowed again. Xi Jinping immediately shielded me and said firmly, "This has nothing to do with Su Li. Even if she hadn't come today." He looked at the tear-streaked Zhou Jiawen. "I wouldn't have been with you." That night, Zhou Jiawen and her 2 friends cornered me in the dormitory. Zhou Jiawen shoved me and cursed, "Everyone in the department knows I like Xi Jinping. Su Li, how could you be so shameless?" Leaning against the door, I didn't feel like I'd done anything wrong. Just because everyone knows you like him, does that make him yours? You planned such a grand gesture for your confession, but that doesn't mean others can't compete with you. Zhou Jiawen, your logic makes no sense. Who do you think you are? Zhou Jiawen crossed her arms, sneering, "You're just someone who can't compete openly and instead resorts to sneaky tricks to seduce him. Xi Jinping is just temporarily bewitched by you. He will eventually realize who truly loves him." I chuckled and shook my head. "Zhou Jiawen, having money doesn't mean you can get everything. You also need brains." "Who are you calling brainless?" Zhou Jiawen, furious, slapped me across the face. I didn't retaliate, but covered my face and said calmly, triumphantly, "For instance, this slap just destroyed any remaining chance you had with Xi Jinping." Realizing something, Zhou Jiawen stammered, "You." I opened the dormitory door, calling Xi Jinping as I walked out, tearfully telling him that Zhou Jiawen was giving me trouble. In less than 10 minutes, Xi Jinping was at the dormitory building, gently touching my face and angrily saying, "I always thought Zhou Jiawen seemed so ladylike, but I never imagined she'd resort to bullying. This can't go unpunished, I'm going to." I stopped him in time. "No, I don't want to pursue this. People are already calling me manipulative behind my back. If we make a big deal out of it, who knows what they'll say. But I tugged at his shirt. I only care about your opinion. Xi Jinping assured me, of course my opinion is different from theirs. I know how wonderful you are. That's enough. Zhou Jiawen wasn't a bad person. She was filled with the pride and confidence of someone raised in a wealthy family, a near-naive quality. She didn't understand that in the world of ordinary people, life is full of trade-offs and compromises. Take Xi Jinping, for instance. He might be attracted to Zhou Jiawen's superior family conditions and her dramatic notions of love, but he couldn't have a future with a privileged girl who didn't understand worldly worries. It would be too stressful for him. And me? Although my family couldn't compare with Zhou Jiawen's, we were comfortably middle class. Most importantly, I understood his true self and was considerate and tactful. Choosing me was the right decision for him. This had been my way of surviving since childhood. When I was 6, I was adopted by a well-off couple. Being old enough to remember, I felt immense joy at having a family. But after just 3 months, my adoptive mother, who had been infertile for years, got pregnant. I was thrilled about having a new family member, but overheard my adoptive parents considering giving me up now that they had their own child. I spent a night in fear in my small bedroom, knowing I had to do something. The next morning, I got up early and clumsily fried eggs in the kitchen. When my adoptive parents woke up, they found a messy breakfast on the table and me with burns from hot oil on my face. I carefully told them, Mom and Dad, please don't give me away. I can do a lot of chores and won't cause trouble. My adoptive mother hugged me, crying, Little Lee, we'll never give you up. This is your home from now on. Back then, I didn't fully understand but knew that keeping adults happy meant they wouldn't abandon me. Despite wanting to sleep in, be spoiled, and eat candy, I forced myself to be a good, polite, and sensible child. By middle school, I had the ability to think and discern, realizing that my behavior was called people-pleasing. But so what? I wasn't a child with a normal upbringing. If I wanted normal treatment and affection, I had to plan and act accordingly. As a result, I had parents who willingly provided for me and a younger brother who followed me around calling me sis. In college, to avoid becoming distant, I chose a local university so I could go home on weekends and spend time with my family. If I missed a weekend, my adoptive mother would say on the phone, "You're not coming back? Your dad misses you. We haven't had a family meal in so long." That's when I knew my efforts hadn't been in vain. In my world, whether it's material things or love, nothing comes without effort. If you want something, you have to find a way to get it. Xi Jinping, with his outstanding appearance, attracted the attention of many girls at school. I first noticed him amidst the noisy crowd at the train station. The National Day holiday had just ended. I was traveling with my brother, Su Cheng, and as we got off the train, I noticed a slightly familiar figure. Xi Jinping, looking thin and carrying an elderly woman on his back, was struggling up the stairs. He didn't have the radiant appearance he usually had at school, but stood tall and ordinary among the travelers from all over the country. Perhaps exhausted from the journey, the woman started to complain like a child. Xi Jinping set her down on the platform, opened a water bottle, and gently comforted her. It had just stopped raining, and as I watched his patient face, my heart suddenly began to race. Xi Jinping never let anyone at school know that he had a mother with Alzheimer's, and few would even bother to find out. He worked part-time at a weekend tutoring center, teaching math. I followed in his footsteps and got a job there teaching Chinese. Gradually, we became familiar with each other. One Saturday, he called me in a hurry, asking if I could cover his class because of an emergency. "Don't panic," I said. "What happened? Is there anything I can do to help?" Xi Jinping was clearly distressed. My mom is missing." I accompanied Xi Jinping as we searched every street and alley late into the night. He was tense but calmly analyzed where his mother might have gone. We inquired along the way, reviewed surveillance footage multiple times, each time in vain. He repeatedly took out a map, frowning in thought. Finally, a kind person brought his mother to the police station. Shun's mother regained a moment of clarity, sitting helplessly on a chair, clutching his hand and lamenting, "Jingping, I'm sorry. It's my fault for burdening you." Shun Jingping softly comforted her, took her back to their rented place, and helped her wash up. After his mother had fallen asleep, Shun Jingping took me to a nearby restaurant to thank me for my help and told me about his background. Shun's parents had him late in life. His mother was already 60 years old. When she was first diagnosed with Alzheimer's, his father abandoned them, feeling that he had fulfilled his duty by raising Shun Jingping to adulthood and didn't give them another penny. Shun Jingping applied for student loans and borrowed money from relatives to attend university. Initially, he had entrusted his mother to relatives back home, but as her condition worsened, they began to push her away, even mistreating her. Heartbroken, he brought her to Pingqing to care for her himself. However, as her episodes became more frequent and severe, Shun Jingping found himself increasingly overwhelmed. From that point on, I started to help Shun Jingping care for his mother. The best way to touch someone's heart is to start with their soft spots. Unlike Zhou Jiawen's grand pursuits at school, I immerse myself in Shun Jingping's real-life struggles, gradually finding a place in his heart. Once, when his mother had a urinary accident, I soaked her pants in a basin, timing it for when Shun Jingping would come home. He saw me crouched in the tiny bathroom scrubbing the pants, pulled me up, and used a dry towel to wipe my hands. With his eyes downcast, hiding his thoughts, he said, "Su Li, you don't have to come anymore. Why do such things with such delicate hands?" Through the towel, I squeezed his hand, then let go and whispered, "I'm willing." Therefore, when I appeared at the cinema, I was 90% sure I would win. Shun Jingping and I had a very stable relationship. We never argued. There was nothing to argue about. I knew Shun Jingping too well. I understood all his preferences and habits and could provide him with the strongest support, both emotionally and materially. In our senior year of college, Shun's mother once again got lost. It was a bitterly cold winter, and when we found her, she had already passed away. Shun Jingping knelt in the snow, his eyes red as if his soul had been drained. I hugged him, repeatedly saying, "Jingping, you still have me. I will always be with you." Originally, my adoptive father had arranged a good job for me in the economically developed city of A, hoping I would venture out. But Shun Jingping had secured a job in Pingqing, and with no one else in his family, he planned to stay there. I gave up the job in City A and stayed with him. In the first 2 years, our lives were not very prosperous. Most of Shun Jingping's salary went to paying off the debts incurred during his schooling and his mother's medical expenses. I worked in fashion design. It sounded glamorous, but I was only an assistant under a designer, making very little money each month. Fortunately, my adoptive parents would occasionally support me financially. I had a high enthusiasm for life and managed our limited funds well. I loved buying flowers and little decorations for our home. I cherished the process of slowly filling our home with happiness. I also heard that love has an expiration date, so I never neglected it. Even if I stayed home all day, I would still dress up, ensuring Shun Jingping always saw a beautiful and elegant Su Li. On every holiday and anniversary, I would surprise him to keep our relationship fresh. Later, I finally became a designer, and my income increased significantly. Shun Jingping also paid off his debts and got promoted. I actually enjoyed a stable, risk-free lifestyle. But when he said he wanted to start a business, I unhesitatingly supported him with my savings. When he faced setbacks and lost money, I encouraged him. When he made breakthroughs, I celebrated with him. I poured myself completely into this relationship. I once asked myself, what do people seek in love? If Shun Jingping valued my gentleness, my unwavering support, and all the beneficial aspects I brought to him, what did I seek? Objectively speaking, his material conditions were poor. He had no family support, his career was unstable with more losses than gains, and he wasn't particularly meticulous in daily life. Even though he was attractive, after a while, looks alone couldn't sustain everything. I sought to exchange for pure love. He had carried his mother across long distances, lived frugally, and took care of her as best as he could, never showing impatience or giving up. No matter how hard it was, he would still read stories to his mother, who had regressed to a childlike state. That natural and steadfast affection was something I couldn't obtain by birth, but I believed that with enough effort, I could achieve it. Last year, a tenant in our apartment building mishandled an appliance, causing a fire. It was late at night. Xin Jinping was still out socializing, and by the time I noticed the fire, the hallway was filled with thick smoke. Amidst the chaos, everyone was trying to escape. I heeded the firefighters' instructions and waited for rescue in our apartment. I hid in the bathroom, fear gripping every inch of me, thinking this might be the end. Ignoring the danger, Xin Jinping rushed back into the building to find me. When he opened the bathroom door, I stood up in shock. Xin Jinping, are you crazy? Everyone else is running out, and you're running in. Don't you know how dangerous this is, you? But you're here. Xin Jinping, equally shaken, hugged me tightly. No matter what, I want to be with you. In that moment, I received what I had always longed for. I never doubted that he truly, fearlessly loved me. But in the long river of life, love can change in an instant. For years into Xin Jinping's startup, we were nearing 30. His company had finally taken a significant step forward, with its income steadily rising. He was increasingly being referred to as President Xin. Then something happened to my family. 3 months ago, a group of debt collectors came looking for me. It was then I learned that Su Cheng had been gambling for the past 2 years. My adoptive parents had bailed him out many times, nearly exhausting their savings. The last time, they took the remaining money and fled with Su Cheng to avoid the creditors. Just a week before, I had brought Xin Jinping home for a meal, where my adoptive father reminded him to start planning for our wedding. Now, they were completely unreachable. To make matters worse, just a few days before they fled, my adoptive father called me. He said they had finalized the purchase of a house for Su Cheng and needed cash to close the deal. Several of their investments hadn't matured yet, and they were short by 200,000 yuan. He asked if I had any money on hand. After Xin Jinping's company stabilized, I had saved up some money from my salary. Trusting him, I transferred the amount directly. Looking back now, I realized they were trying to gather as much cash as possible before running away. That was all my savings. How could this happen? All these years, I thought we had become a family. My adoptive parents had decent incomes and were generous to me, funding my education and supplementing me financially during the early years when my income was low. They even said they had prepared a dowry for me. I had always regarded them as my real parents, constantly thinking of them. But now, when trouble arose, they didn't even call to inform me before fleeing. I then realized that seeing myself as a pet might be more accurate. When everything is smooth and money is plentiful, the owners aren't stingy about providing the pet with a superior lifestyle, good toys, expensive food, and even costly medical treatment. But when a crisis hits and the owners are struggling, they will tightly protect their own children, and the pet becomes insignificant. In desperate times, they might even eat the pet to survive. The debt collectors caused a huge commotion at my workplace, creating an extremely bad impression. Coupled with a few mistakes I made at work, my boss became increasingly dissatisfied with me. Amidst all this chaos, it was Xin Jinping's birthday. He made a big deal out of inviting a group of people to our home to celebrate, insisting I prepare well. Among them was Zhou Jiawen, and only then did I realize that the crucial investment Xin Jinping had secured earlier had come from her. Xin Jinping had never told me this. At the party, I kept making mistakes. After receiving several subtle glances, Zhou Jiawen leaned against the sofa and seemingly kindly said, "Su Li, do you need me to recommend a good brand of false eyelashes?" Some people pretended not to hear, while others stifled their laughter. Only then did I notice the shadow before my eyes. Instinctively, I looked at Xin Jinping, whose face was dark with displeasure as he stared at me. I went to the bathroom and saw that my right false eyelash had come loose, and my eyeliner had smudged, leaving a black stain at the corner of my eye. Lowering my head, I noticed that I had gained some weight without realizing it, and the tight dress I wore accentuated a small roll of fat around my abdomen. Recalling Xin Jinping's unfamiliar gaze, I felt a foreboding sense of doom. During dinner, Xi Jinping's dissatisfaction grew. He had mentioned before that most of the guests couldn't handle spicy food and had asked me not to use too much chili. But I had forgotten this while cooking, preparing several key dishes as spicy as Xi Jinping liked them. The meal quickly lost its atmosphere. I retreated to the kitchen, hoping to find more ingredients to make up for it. As I washed the vegetables, a sharp pain pierced my chest, draining all my strength. Staring blankly at the running water, I felt lost. Su Li, stop wasting your efforts. Zhou Jiawen appeared behind me, leaning against the counter and staring at me with a smug look. It took me some time to understand why Xi Jinping chose you back then. Because 7 years ago, he needed a girlfriend willing to make sacrifices and face hardships with him. But now, at 30, with clear goals and ambitions, he needs a more capable woman. I know about your family's troubles and that you're about to lose your job. After embarrassing him so much today, do you think he'll still choose you? After the party, I decided to come clean with Xi Jinping about what had been happening recently. He started by asking me, "What's wrong with you?" It wasn't a concerned inquiry. His face was etched with anger and impatience. It was more like asking, "Why did you perform so poorly today?" I opened my mouth, then changed my question. "You never told me that Zhou Jiawen was an investor in your company." "It's not a big deal. I've been so busy, I must have forgotten." "How could you forget something like that? She's just a business partner. We've been out of school for so many years. Who still has those kinds of thoughts?" "You're overthinking it." I pointed to the watch on his wrist. "Isn't her interest obvious? Are you really not seeing it, or are you just fooling me?" I lost control and yelled at him. "Xi Jinping, you know very well how I've treated you all these years. I just want a straightforward answer. Do you still love me or not?" Xi Jinping fell silent, staring at me for a long moment before saying, "Don't act so innocent. Are you completely loyal to me?" With that, he pulled out his phone, found a picture, and held it up to my face. "You've been cheating all along." The photo showed a restaurant's private room with the door slightly ajar, taken by someone through the gap. In it, I was sitting very close to a tall, handsome man on the sofa, and his hand was on my chest. I instantly felt my privacy had been violated. "Who gave you this photo?" "Zhou Jiawen." "Who gave it to me doesn't matter. I've already looked into it. This man is Meng Liang, your high school classmate. What else do you have to say?" After questioning me, Xi Jinping stared at me, panting. "Su Li, who stopped loving first?" My eyes stung, and I wanted to deny it all and explain everything to him. But his distrust pierced my temple like a needle. He used one photo to jump to conclusions, finding a convenient excuse for his infidelity and confidently confronting me. Before I could speak, Xi Jinping delivered our sentence. "Now that everything is out in the open, let's break up." With that, he didn't look at me again and stormed out. In 7 years, this was our first argument, and it wasn't even that intense, yet it led to our breakup. 2 hours later, Zhou Jiawen sent me a photo of two shadows walking closely under the moonlight. At dawn, she sent another picture of the sunrise, implying they had spent the night together. Originally, I had intended to calmly talk things over with Xi Jinping again, but now, I had completely given up on that idea. No matter what, he had ultimately changed his heart. Xi Jinping returned that night. I had already packed my luggage. His gaze fell briefly on the 2 suitcases before quickly looking away, implicitly accepting my departure. I walked up to him and handed him 3 pages of printed paper, saying coldly, "Since we're breaking up, it's time to settle some accounts. This is a list of the money I've spent on you over the years. Please transfer it to my account as soon as possible." He took the list, squinting at it for a full half-minute before he dared to confirm, "Su Li, I never expected you to be so shrewd, keeping track so meticulously." The list included not only the large sums I supported him with during his early entrepreneurial days, but also our daily expenses, splitting the costs to calculate my share. "So, all these years, you've been keeping accounts, down to every cup of milk tea and every hot pot meal?" I didn't bother to explain that I had hastily compiled the list from old records earlier that day. Now that his infidelity was undeniable, I felt helpless. All I could do was use this to disgust him. I had never cared about money, but in the end, it all became a testament to our relationship, each penny and dime measuring the effort I had put in. Xi Jinping was furious. He threw the list at me. I never spent any money on you. Don't be ridiculous. I replied coolly. You can make your own list. We can settle everything down to the last penny. He tore the list into pieces and threw them at me. I won't give you a single cent. I let out a cold laugh. Then I'll send it to your employees and friends. Let them see everything. I don't mind making a scene. It's up to you if you want to lose face, Mr. Shen. He stared at me, speechless. The tension was suddenly broken by the sound of a car horn outside. I grabbed my suitcase and said to him, think it over. Xi Jinping followed me downstairs, watching as I got into Meng Hong's car. He banged heavily on the window. Su Li, aure ruthless. It wasn't until the car had driven far away that Meng Hong spoke. You didn't tell him about your illness? I shook my head. Is this like those novels where you endure the pain alone, afraid to burden anyone? I shook my head again, bitterly. I just don't want to give my opponent the satisfaction. I don't want to appear more miserable in front of an unfaithful man. After my foster parents ran off with the money, my job was also hanging by a thread. At that time, due to frequent chest pains, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. The doctor in charge of my case happened to be my high school classmate, Meng Hong. I sat across the table from him, my eyes vacant. Can it be cured? Yes. How? Meng Hong swallowed and lowered his voice. The tumor is too large. We need to completely remove the left breast. I didn't seem to understand, looking down at the dress I was wearing. Summer had arrived, and I had chosen a floral dress with a small V-neck. I love dressing up and looking beautiful. Isn't there another way? Medical technology is so advanced now. There must be another way, right? Meng Hong said regretfully, this is the best option, Su Li. Your life is the priority. It's rare for someone your age to have this. Have you been under a lot of stress? Meng Hong suggested that I be admitted to the hospital as soon as possible. I felt like I had fallen into a hunter's trap, surrounded by spikes, with no escape. When Meng Hong noticed that I hadn't been admitted to the hospital, he sought me out, explaining the illness in detail after dinner. With my consent, he pressed around the area to check. That was how the ambiguous photo came about. I had mentally prepared myself to tell Xi Jinping everything after his birthday, but our relationship took a sudden turn for the worse, leading to this point. Another reason for asking him for money was that I needed the funds for surgery. Meng Hong arranged for my hospitalization. It's strange how the body works. When you stubbornly insist on pushing through, you can keep up appearances and carry on as if nothing's wrong. But once you accept your fate and lie in a hospital bed, even getting up to go to the bathroom becomes an ordeal. Every bout of pain feels like it's going to take your life. I overestimated my resilience. My heart was in tatters, my body weak and feeble. During the day, I would try to cheer myself up, but at night, I would fall apart. Each time the negative emotions overwhelmed me, my mind felt like it was splitting apart, and I desperately needed an outlet. I bombarded Xi Jinping with messages, listing all the things I had done for him over the years, demanding money, and cursing him with the most venomous words. He never responded, which made my pain even worse. A few days later, in the early hours of a stormy night, I woke up. The solitude around me felt like the end of the world. I opened the chat with Xi Jinping and poured out everything: how my foster parents had abandoned me, how my job was on the brink, and how I was sick. I told him that Meng Hong was just my doctor. Before the storm subsided, the door to the hospital room swung open. Xi Jinping rushed to my bedside, his eyes red as he gripped my hand. Xiaoli, something so serious happened. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I should have paid more attention to you. I'm so sorry, Xiaoli. Regret washed over me. I shouldn't have told him in a moment of impulse. I pushed him away with all my strength. Get out. Stop pretending. Don't be fake anymore. Xi Jinping looked heartbroken, his face tired, almost pleading. Xiaoli, calm down. I didn't cheat on you. It was all a lie. Cold sweat dripped from my forehead, and each breath was painful. What do you mean? He poured a glass of water and placed it in my hand, then sat down on the chair beside me, filled with remorse. When I first got the investment, Zhou Jian didn't show up. I really didn't know it was her. By the time I found out, our interests were already intertwined. In the past 2 months, I noticed something was off with you. You talked less and didn't care about me as much. Before, you managed the house meticulously, even labeling the watering times for each plant. You always bought new clothes to show me, planned our dates a week in advance, and experimented with new dishes for me to try. Every time I went out for social gatherings, you'd text me to drink less and have supper ready when I came home. But you changed recently. Xi Jinping described what he saw from his perspective. It seemed like you lost interest in everything at home. You left early and came back late, barely speaking a few words a day. The flowers on the balcony died, and you forgot our 7th anniversary. It was during this time that Zhou Jian sent me that photo. Xi Jinping said he really believed I had cheated, feeling both angry and anxious, immaturely seeking revenge. He accepted the watch from Zhou Jian to spite me and later transferred money to her. The night he went out with her, he was frustrated and intentionally had her send those shadow and sunrise photos to anger me. Nothing happened between me and Zhou Jian. On one hand, I couldn't let go of you, and on the other, I couldn't stand the thought of betrayal. Especially when I saw you tallying up our expenses so meticulously and rushing into another man's arms, I was furious. Xi Jinping held my pale, cold fingers tenderly. You didn't tell me anything. You didn't say anything when there were problems at home, and you didn't say anything when you had issues. It's my fault. My fault for not being attentive enough, for not trusting you enough. Xiaoli, this is all a misunderstanding. I hugged him, unable to hold back my tears. Dr. Meng said I need a mastectomy, and there's a chance of recurrence and metastasis. I don't want to go through surgery. Xi Jinping kissed my forehead, his voice gentle. Don't be afraid. I will always be by your side. Don't worry about anything. Xiaoli, it's just a small trial. We will be better. Through my teary eyes, I seemed to see the boy from years ago, standing at the train station after the rain, uncomplainingly shouldering the responsibility. After the surgery, I went through 4 rounds of chemotherapy and 25 sessions of radiotherapy. During these months, Xi Jinping stayed by my side, patiently and thoroughly, even managing the creditors to give me a peaceful recovery environment. Each time I lost my temper and apologized to him afterward, he would smile and say, "In all these years together, I've never seen you so childish. It's very cute." When the new year arrived and my treatment was finally over, it felt like being given a second chance at life. Through this ordeal, my relationship with Xi Jinping seemed to grow stronger. He told me he had completely clarified things with Zhou Jian and would gradually disentangle their business interests. He became more attentive, researched extensively, and made meal plans for me. He often chatted with me, worried that any pent-up negative emotions could harm my health. I forced myself to stay positive, quitting my old job and finding a new one. I continued wearing beautiful dresses and dreamed of getting breast reconstruction surgery someday. Then, everything would be like it used to be. A year later, after picking up my follow-up results from the hospital, I hurried to my alma mater. My school held an annual celebration, and though I had never attended before, this year, I had a sudden urge to go. Despite living in the same city, I hadn't visited the campus in years. As I walked through, I didn't see any familiar faces. The dormitory I used to live in was somewhat secluded. The exterior walls were being renovated, with workers using new paint to cover the worn-out surface, giving it a fresh, vibrant look. The sound of high heels clicked behind me. Instinctively, I turned around and met Zhou Jian's surprised gaze. I lowered my eyes, intending to walk past her, but Zhou Jian, with a complicated expression, called out to me, "Su Li, Xi Jinping is a bastard." Standing in front of me, her face flushed with healthy color under the glaring sun, she continued, "Did he tell you it was all one-sided on my part? Don't believe a word Xi Jinping says. He knew I was the investor from the start. He kept stringing me along. I gave him the watch to test his feelings, and he accepted it without hesitation. That night, He was with me, walking, booking a room, watching the sunrise the next morning, and he even whispered sweet nothings to me. Then he found out you were sick and said he couldn't leave you at such a critical moment, fearing people would criticize him. He said he had to stay with you through your treatment and would break up with you once you were fully recovered, telling me to wait for him. So this past year, I've been laying low, but I've been secretly seeing him. Tears started rolling down Zhou Jiawen's face. I've recently realized he's just a hypocrite. He only makes choices that benefit him. You were the best option before. Then he started getting involved with me. When you got sick, he didn't abandon you because he wanted to keep his good reputation. Indeed, everyone in our overlapping social circles praised Xi Jinping for standing by me in my illness, saying I had truly found the right person. I've cut ties with him. Su Li, don't be foolish and think he truly loves you. I smiled faintly, nodded, and tried to walk away again. Zhou Jiawen grabbed my wrist, unwilling to let go. What does your nod mean? You don't believe what I said. I looked from her slender fingers to her face, thought for a moment, and said, Zhou Jiawen, I told you many years ago that you're not a very smart person. She frowned, and I continued, So, do you think it's possible that I haven't already figured out what you just realized? From the beginning, I knew it wasn't a misunderstanding as Xi Jinping claimed. He didn't see the photo of Meng Hong and me and then deliberately flirt with Zhou Jiawen to spite me. Instead, at some point, he had already decided to break up with me but lacked a valid reason. Zhou Jiawen's photo gave him the perfect excuse. This way, if anyone asked why we broke up, he could justifiably say it was my fault. He genuinely wanted to end our relationship. However, he didn't expect me to go through so many problems, including health issues. As Zhou Jiawen said, he couldn't abandon a cancer-stricken girlfriend and find a new love. He needed to maintain his image as a dignified man who cared about both his career and his reputation. After my treatment ended, our life together seemed peaceful and happy. In reality, we no longer even held hands or embraced. He claimed he didn't want to disturb my rest and moved to the guest room. Over time, we became like polite roommates. There was no mention of marriage or future plans. Recently, perhaps because he thought my condition had completely stabilized, Xi Jinping became increasingly distant. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before we broke up. He would have done his duty, and people would naturally accept that we simply fell out of love. I knew all of this. Zhou Jiawen asked incredulously, Since you knew, why did you? I felt tired and sat down on a wooden bench along the tree-lined path, quietly looking at her. Because I felt lonely and scared. At the hospital, nighttime felt longer than a lifetime. Seeing the doctors and nurses terrified me as if they were demons. I've always wanted to escape loneliness and find someone to rely on. But in the end, the relatives who raised me abandoned me, and the person I loved betrayed me. Even my own body failed me. I have nothing. That morning, when Xi Jinping rushed into my hospital room amidst the heavy rain, I gave up on the obsession. I no longer cared about the question of love. I just wanted someone to be with me through those difficult days. I closed my eyes, my voice trembling. I'm not that brave. I couldn't face the illness alone. What else could I do? Zhou Jiawen spoke softly, but now you're better. You can leave him and start a new life. I tightly clutched my bag, which contained the results of my latest checkup, and shook my head in resignation. No, I'm not better. The cancer has metastasized. I don't have much time left. Zhou Jiawen's eyes widened. How can that be? You look so good. I pointed to my face with my index finger. Because I put on makeup. Underneath this face is a pallor that hardly looks human anymore. I need Xi Jinping to accompany me through the rest of my days. I informed Xi Jinping about the worsening of my condition. He remained silent for a long time, then hugged me as he did a year ago, gently patting my back. Don't worry, I'll be with you. He packed his bags and accompanied me to the hospital for treatments to extend my life as much as possible. He easily prepared himself for my death. Even sadness was no longer disguised, hugs lacked warmth, and love was non-existent. Whether I recovered or died, the outcome was the same to him. Before Zhou Zhouwen appeared, I had long stopped caring or dwelling on things. Holding on to grudges served no purpose, especially when time was running out for me. However, since that encounter, I couldn't sleep for several days in a row. My body was weak, but my mind was incredibly alert, and even the pain seemed to diminish. One night, I suddenly woke up and remembered Zhou Zhouwen's last words. "Sulai, you used to be domineering and ruthless, willing to go to any lengths to get what you wanted. Although I've always disliked you and even resented you, I can't deny that you're strong, a ruthless character I secretly admire. What happened to you now? Or were you always this incapable of losing?" The composure I forced upon myself collapsed in an instant. Yes, this wasn't calmness at all. It was an inability to accept defeat, a surrender, a passive acceptance. Xin Jinping brought breakfast back, including my favorite red bean congee. Before the aroma could dissipate, I calmly said to him, "Xin Jinping, let's break up." Xin Jinping looked at me bewilderedly, perhaps thinking it was inappropriate to make such a request at this stage. I sat up against the headboard and continued, "Do you remember the detailed account statement I calculated before? I bought insurance before, and the last treatment was reimbursed a lot. So, according to this calculation, you still owe me some money, and you... Why are you still talking about that stupid account?" Xin Jinping couldn't bear it anymore. I retorted, "Then what should we talk about? Our relationship." Annoyed, Xin Jinping slammed the congee on the table. "Money is not the issue. Whether it's 200,000, 300,000, or 400,000, I'll pay for your treatment no matter how much it costs. I won't ask for a single penny more from you. I won't give you any more chances to act lovingly outside. For example, after I die, others will say, Xin Jinping is a good man who didn't abandon his girlfriend with cancer until the last moment. That's exactly what I plan to do." Xin Jinping's chest heaved dramatically, displaying an expression of my irrationality. "You want me to leave at this moment, leaving you to face everything alone? What kind of person would I be then? What would others say about me? So, you're just putting on a show." This was something we both knew. I wanted my final support, while he wanted to maintain his image. Xin Jinping's eyes stared at me like a hawk. "So what? Is there anyone else who would be willing to take care of you without finding it troublesome? I don't understand what you're insisting on." I took a deep breath and said firmly, "I insist on spending my remaining days without compromising, living life on my own terms." "Xin Jinping, don't argue with a dying person like me. It only makes you look more ugly. Please respect my wishes." Xin Jinping left, and not long after, he transferred a sum of money into my account. He probably hadn't completely given up, leaving me hanging, waiting for me to reach out to him when I couldn't bear it anymore. According to a mutual friend, he claimed outside, illness made Xiaoli's personality erratic. She wants to hide and face death on her own. Of course, I won't give up. I'll always be by her side. Many nights, I've even thought about dying with her. Friends around were deeply moved, urging him to be more open-minded and even introducing him to a psychologist. But he soon got a slap in the face. Zhou Zhouwen revealed to his company's employees and every friend the truth about his year-long cheating and true intentions. She exposed many of their chat records and proof of their meetings, tearing off his hypocritical mask. The carefully maintained image of Xin Jinping overnight turned into a broken bowl kicked by everyone on the roadside. By the time I found out about this, I had given up on lengthy and painful treatments, spent all my money to move into a hospice care facility, and made arrangements for my final affairs. The medical staff here are very compassionate, meticulous, and treat me like family. The layout of the wards here resembles normal homes. With the help of the caregivers, I bought many flowers and plants, brought in carefully selected decorations from before, and even made a small photo wall, sticking all the happy moments of my short life on it. There's a faint aroma of aromatherapy floating in the room, and the bed is adorned with my favorite orange-gray bedding. Lying in it, I wrapped myself tightly, feeling the warmth as if I were being embraced. My periods of drowsiness became longer and longer, occasionally remembering that it was spring. The sunlight outside was wonderful, with a tree sprouting fresh green leaves, and black and white birds were busy building nests. Someone pushed open the door of the ward, and I turned my head to see Zhou Jiawen walking in with a bouquet of sunflowers. I jokingly said to her weakly, "What's up? Here to see me make a fool of myself." Zhou Jiawen placed the flowers down and sat on the nearby chair, teasingly, Yeah, to see how miserable you are." I smiled and looked back out the window, telling her a story. There are 2 birds outside. They start building their nest early in the morning, taking turns to bring twigs back. This is already their 13th round trip. It shouldn't be long before they finish building their nest, and then they'll take turns incubating inside, the female bird hatching the eggs, and the male bird looking for food. Zhou Jiawen carefully examined every corner of the room and said, "Your home is beautiful too." As my eyelids grew heavier, the spring light blurred. I murmured, "If there's a next life." A warm and firm hand tightly held mine. She said firmly, "In the next life, you'll definitely be happy, with parents who cherish you, a faithful partner, and friends who share your joys and sorrows. Sulai, you have to believe that you will be happy." I closed my eyes, trying to pull my lips into a smile, unsure if I succeeded, opening my mouth, wanting to respond to her words, not knowing if any sound came out. I wanted to tell her, "Then I'll borrow your words for good luck."